Good evening. Today, the two Americans who landed and walked on the moon took the first and most dangerous steps on the voyage home. Never had anything blasted into orbit from the moon's surface, but Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin in their Eagle lunar module succeeded. If they had failed, it would have meant certain death. From orbit, they moved smoothly to a reunion with lonesome astronaut Mike Collins aboard Columbia, the Apollo spacecraft which now will carry all three of them home. Thus ended a fantastic series of events which began yesterday afternoon as Eagle neared the moon's surface.
30 feet down, 2.5, picking up some dust. 30 feet, 2.5 down, straight shadow. 4 forward, drift into the right a little. 6, down a half. 30 seconds forward, just. Ready? Contact light. Okay, engine stop. APA at a descent. Nose control, both autos, descent engine command override off. Engine arm on.
We're home.
413 is in.
Man on the moon.
We copy you down, Eagle. Houston,
Oh, jeez.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
Oh, boy.
Thank you. You're looking good here.
Boy.
Okay, we're going to be busy for a minute. After I'm on, take care of the descent. I'll get this stuff prepared.
Wally, say something. I'm speechless.
I'm just trying to hold on to my breath.
Some 6.5 hours later came the next climactic moment. Armstrong is on the moon. Neil Armstrong, 38-year-old American, standing on the surface of the moon on this July 20th, 1969.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. It's the first picture in the panorama. Tell me if you got a picture, Houston. Well, we got a beautiful picture, Neil. Okay, I'm going to move it. Okay, there's another good one. There's another. Okay, we got that one. Okay, you can make a mark, Houston. Roger, rolling. And incidentally, you can use the shadow that the staff makes to assist you in getting it perpendicular.
Buzz is erecting the solar wind experiment now.
Houston, Columbia, 9 gain, over. Columbia, this is Houston, reading you loud and clear, over. Yeah, this is Houston, reading. Yeah, reading you loud and clear, how's it going? Roger, the EVA is progressing beautifully. I believe they're setting up the flag now. Great. I guess you're about the only person around that doesn't have TV coverage of the scene. That's all right, I don't mind a bit.
There it is, a U.S. flag on the surface of the moon.
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface. Up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface. Beautiful.
You know what these pictures look like? Some of those early movies of science fiction of man on the moon, don't they?
So true.
Color, the black-white registration, the whole thing looks like those movies.
Neil, this is Houston. Did you get the Hasselblad magazine? This is Houston. Did you get the Hasselblad magazine? Yes, I did. And we got about, I'd say 20 pounds of carefully selected, if not documented, samples.
Houston, Roger, well done, out.
Pick them off. Okay, the hatch is closed and latched. And verified secure. Fine.
And today's takeoff from the moon.
5, port stage, engine arm ascent, proceed. Ah, beautiful. 26, 36 feet per second up. 5, put a pitch over.
Engines firing, they're on the way.
Balance couple off. Very quiet ride. There's that one crater on there.
They're just short of 22 hours on the moon's surface, on the way back now to rendezvous with Mike Collins orbiting overhead. Rendezvous and docking were accomplished 3.5 hours later. There's one more critical maneuver just before 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time when Apollo's engines are burned to take it out of lunar orbit and send it coasting towards splashdown in the Pacific Thursday. For a while today, Russia's Luna 15 caused a stir by landing on the moon, but Moscow says only that its work is finished, but indications are that it landed hard and tonight lies damaged and silent on the lunar surface. Walter Cronkite, CBS News, Space Headquarters, New York.
Long way.
As Americans tonight wait now only for the safe return of the Apollo astronauts, other Americans back here on Earth also face danger, as Richard Threlkeld reports.
On this momentous day, in a corner of the planet Earth called South Vietnam, returning safely was also a matter of some concern. Today was no national holiday here. Tired, dirty American GIs came back from ambush patrols to learn that 2 of their countrymen had landed on the moon. But what was more important, they had survived another night on Earth.
What were you doing when they actually landed on the moon?
We were still out on ambush. About 2 clicks from here. We didn't even know it till this morning.
I guess you were a little too busy to follow the astronauts very closely.
Well, we followed them pretty much during the day. At night, our night's pretty well taken up for us. Pretty busy around that time.
What were you doing when 2 men landed on the moon?
Oh, I was out on ambush last night, sir.
I guess you were a little too busy to follow the progress of the astronauts.
Quite busy, sir.
At the Vatican's splendidly equipped observatory near his summer residence at Castel Gandolfo, Pope Paul followed the events of the unbelievable night. And like thousands of others, waiting for the tremendous news of the safe landing, the announcer's exclamation, "A toccato," it's touched down.
I'm willing to predict tonight that by the end of the century, our churches will be full again. That's redesigning mankind back in the direction of God again.
Because of space travel?
Because of space travel. Because when we move out into the mystery, when we move out into the loneliness of space, when we begin to discover we really are 3 billion lonely people on a small world, I think it's going to draw us much closer together.
We are now in one of the most popular places in Buenos Aires city. That is the capital of the Argentine Republic. We are going to ask the people of Buenos Aires what do they think about the mission of the Apollo 11. As a scientific experiment, as something wonderful.
Sí, pero creo también que tenemos muchísimos problemas que contemplar.
But there are a lot of problems we have to solve before.
Why not make this a year 1 in humanity instead of the year 1, which is 1969 years ago?
So there's the foot on the moon, stepping down on the moon. He's taking that first step. He must be stepping down on the moon at this point.
I know now, more than ever before, that because we have been successful this evening with this venture, that there is going to be brought about the pressure in this country to really move the president and to move the Congress and the power structure to really solve these problems which we are now perplexed with. There is a better day coming for welfare workers. There is a better day coming for the hungry in this country. There is a better day coming simply because we have landed men on the moon.
Though an estimated 600 million people watched the Apollo landing, they are far outnumbered by the 800 million persons who are tonight totally unaware that man has landed on the moon. Communist China, North Korea, North Vietnam, and Albania chose to keep their people in ignorance of the feat of Apollo 11. Connecticut Senator Abraham Ribicoff said today that he will introduce a bill in Congress to make July 20th a national holiday. His bill will propose that the holiday be called Apollo 11 Day. The New York and American stock exchanges were closed today, as were many other businesses, in honor of the Apollo 11 moon landing. It has spent many of the last 30 hours or so at CBS News Space Headquarters in New York, closely following with the rest of the world the drama of Apollo 11. Eric?
If it's possible to be uplifted and let down at the same time, that's the approximate condition right now of much of the human race. No one can be sure the rest of the world thinks better or worse of the United States by reason of this feat. They just assumed this country would be the first to do it. Jules Verne guessed that much 100 years ago. Since World War II, this country has been the chief headquarters for theoretical as well as applied science. And it has long been the world's chief experimental laboratory in human relations. Any number of horseback philosophers find it most odd that such a clean, beautiful, successful act of human cooperation could be born in the middle of so much acrimony, failure, and violence. But there's never been a logical nation or a logical epoch. And Alfred North Whitehead said, in fact, that every period of great human creativity has been accompanied by or immediately preceded by much mass violence. It means, apparently, that there just happen to be times when human drives come to a boil. Then you get arson in the streets and flights to the moon. Somebody else will have to decide if that's better for the human spirit than boredom. The ultimate aim of all this is the ancient one, to unravel the riddle of the universe. The rocks that the two prospectors, Aldrin and Armstrong, carry back in their saddlebags will help. But it's safe to assume that such cosmic thoughts were not in their minds up there or out there. They are young in heart, and they were dancing on the moon. That's man for you, young or old. After all, when Archimedes found it, he yelled Eureka and ran through the streets of ancient Syracuse. Last night, daybreak on the moon, not everybody felt born again exactly, but everyone must have felt young again, if just for a moment. It was the same 42 years ago when the boy Lindbergh touched down in Paris. F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote, "People set down their glasses in country clubs and speakeasies and thought of their old best dreams." Harry?
That's the news. This is Harry Reasoner. Good night.